Hello everyone, I'm Zhang. Welcome back. Today, I'm taking you to a small mountain village in northern China that has almost been forgotten by time. This village has a history of more than 600 years, and today, most of the people still living here are elderly. I want to see what everyday life is like in a place like this. So, let's begin. The village is called Bjako. It was named after the Bo family, who were the first settlers here. Its history can be traced back to the 14th century during China's Ming Dynasty. The village sits at the foot of the mountains with a quiet stream flowing in front of it. There is a light mist this morning, but you can still make out the mountains in the distance. It's just after 8 o'clock in the morning. From here, you can see almost the entire village. The area I'm pointing to is a newly built public square for the villagers. I decided to start my walk along the river. This stone bridge was built in 1946. It has stood here for nearly 80 years. These old stone houses have long been abandoned. I have always loved filming houses like these. Someone has planted peanuts in the courtyard. China has a long tradition of farming. Here, people rarely waste even a small piece of land. That's why, in my videos, you'll hardly ever see farmland left unused. After asking for permission, I filmed the vegetable garden in this family's courtyard. I wanted to show you what a traditional Chinese rural home looks like. When I was a child, my family's courtyard was just like this, filled with vegetables and fruit trees. The people here are incredibly friendly. She invited me inside for a cup of tea. She wasn't interested in what I was filming. She was simply curious about where I had come from. I thanked her for her kindness, but since the morning was still cool, I wanted to spend a little more time walking around. Today, my husband helped me film some of these shots, which made the day much easier for me. Up ahead is a small shop that repairs electric vehicles. Several villagers are gathered here. An elderly woman's electric tricycle had broken down. The man repairing it is her husband. She loves talking with people. She told me how much she likes this kind of electric vehicle. It can carry passengers and transport small loads as well. For someone who often goes to the local market, it's very practical. She had just bought a brand new one today. As for the old one, she plans to repair it and keep it as a backup.
是是是。哦，从哪吹摇头？娃子还出来还叫妈妈。哎呦，我们哪里也看，还得看个美女，哪个美女我请看。
This is her new electric tricycle. It costs about $290 US. She warmly invited me to drive it around the village, but I've never driven one before, so I simply sat on it for a moment instead. After saying goodbye, I continued my walk through the village. This is a mobile truck that collects old mobile phones for recycling. This type of stone is called Taihu stone. In China, it is often used in traditional gardens and landscaping. The name of the village is carved into it. When I was a child, I loved blowing dandelions like these. It's such a simple thing, but somehow it always makes me smile. This is another small square in the village. Here is the village convenience store. Besides selling daily necessities, it also helps some elderly villagers receive and send packages. For many older people, using a smartphone isn't easy. This is the village restaurant. It mainly serves traveling merchants. Many traders come here to buy locally grown tea. This is the village administrative service center. It looks like it was built only a few years ago. I really like its open entrance. Unfortunately, the gates were locked today. Perhaps I came at the wrong time. The hawthorn trees are already full of fruit. Do you see that sign over there? That's the village's small banking service point. This family's front yard is spotless. Their garden is beautifully maintained. You can tell the owners take great pride in keeping everything tidy. Look what I found. A little cat. It looked a bit hungry. So I shared a little food that I had with me. The stream we saw earlier continues all the way here. There is also an old well. The villagers still use its water to irrigate their vegetable gardens. I found a duck egg in the stream. I wondered which absent-minded duck had left it there. Then I found them nearby. Every little vegetable garden here is carefully looked after. This house has the unmistakable style of the 1980s. At that time, red brick houses were very popular in rural China. Every time I walk through villages like this, I think about my childhood. Back then, these villages were full of children. We rode our bicycles along these little roads and played outside until it got dark. Today, when I walk through the same streets again, I hear more wind than children's laughter. Most of the younger generation has moved to the cities. Those who remain are mostly elderly people. Perhaps in another 10 or 20 years, when this generation is gone, many villages like this will slowly fade into memory. This is the northwestern side of the village. The mountain behind it looks a bit like a rhinoceros horn from a certain angle. That's why it's called Jiazishan. In Chinese, the name literally means an animal's horn. These tea gardens have been here for more than 100 years. I decided to continue farther into the mountains. I had heard there was another tiny village ahead. Today, very few people still live there. Walking through this little village, I found that only a handful of families still live along the roadside. Whenever they see a stranger, even the cats and dogs come over to say hello. They seem to be good friends.
不用，不抱，不抱，不抱你哦。抱。
Look closely at that cage. There are actually 2 peacocks inside. This is one of the few homes that is still occupied. Their children now live and work in big cities. Only the elderly couple remains here. I spent some time talking with them. We talked about their lives today and about the village as they remembered it many years ago. Before I knew it, the sun was already climbing higher. It was time for me to leave this peaceful little village. There are no busy shopping streets here, no crowds, no fast-paced city life. But what remains is a slower and quieter way of living. I don't know what this place will look like 10 years from now. That's why I want to record it while I still can. Thank you for joining me on today's journey. I'm Jung. I'll see you in the next video.